There was a small group of friends who formed a band you may have heard of, Metallica. Lars and James met and they decided to form a band. They needed to get some new members. The band seemed to explode overnight, and they ended up even supporting bands as big as Saxon in their local circuit of LA. Then they made their first demo tape, No Life Till Ever, and it was flying all over the place, all across the tape trading circuit. They were growing so big, so fast, that they decided to relocate to the Bay Area, where they recruited the bassist Cliff Burton from his band Trauma. At this point in their career, there was repeated butting of heads between members and clashing of personalities between James and Dave. When Metallica were getting ready to record their first album, Kill 'Em All, they decided to replace Dave Mustaine with Exodus guitarist Kirk Hammett. I mean, it's not the best way to get rid of a member, waking them up and saying you're fired. Mustaine was then sent packing on a 4-day bus journey from New York all across to LA with just his rage and his thoughts to keep him company. Understandably still upset, Dave decided to write some lyrics on the back of the only piece of paper he could find, in which he actually came across the phrase, "The arsenal of Megadeth can't be rid." After some deep thought, Mustaine decided that the term Megadeth, spelling it Megadeth without the A, would make a cool name for a new band. Dave then formed Megadeth, and he went on to recruit some of the best metal musicians the world has ever seen. I mean, Marty Friedman is probably one of the best lead guitarists ever. Some of my own personal thoughts about the situation: when I was watching old videos of Metallica when I was growing up, listening to them, playing live with Dave Mustaine, I thought it was quite interesting and really apparent that Dave was a frontman. He was always stood by a mic, James was always stood by a mic. They kind of always talked over each other. There seemed to be a bit of lad bullying on stage, and alcohol was flying around and that kind of stuff, and it always seemed a bit like Dave was really destined to be the frontman of his own band. Then couple that with Dave's alcohol-induced rage blackouts and his violent nature, it was kind of a recipe for disaster, so it was probably only destined that he would end up being removed from Metallica. But if they didn't do that, we wouldn't have Megadeth and Metallica, who, in my opinion, have released some of the best albums ever, let alone metal albums. One of my favourite Megadeth albums is Countdown to Extinction. In 2007, I saw them live in Bristol, and I was walking around with my little Sony Walkman listening to Megadeth all the time. I think I had 3 CDs on there and just had them on repeat. One of my favourite songs off that album is Symphony of Destruction. So at the end of this video, I've decided to do a cover with my good friend Jesse Mitchell, and stick around to the end to hear it all in full. It sounds great. I love it. I mixed it myself. Let me know what you thought in the comment section below. Basically, to conclude the video, Dave had a rough time in the 80s. He kind of formed Metallica and then was replaced before releasing basically one of their biggest albums they've ever done. It must have been immensely difficult for all the guys involved, especially Dave, but it's also cool to see that they've reconciled since then, and they've done the Big Four tours, and they've obviously done songs where Dave is playing with Metallica as well. I mean, again, without sounding too horrible, I'm not happy that they did it and the way they did it, but if they didn't get rid of Dave, Kirk wouldn't have joined, and they wouldn't have been the biggest band ever, and Megadeth wouldn't have been as big as they are either, because they wouldn't have been a band. Now, here is Symphony of Destruction with me and my good friend Jesse Mitchell. Before that though, today's video is sponsored by DistroKid. It's not fair. I wish I had my own music on Apple Music, iTunes, Spotify and every other streaming platform. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Everyone can have their own music on streaming platforms, you just have to use distrokid.com. What? What do you mean I can do that myself with just using DistroKid? DistroKid is a platform that allows you to post all your music on all the streaming platforms. Just use distrokid.com. Also, if you use the link in the description, you get 7% off your first annual subscription as well. And I can save 7% off if I use your link. Thanks, Jamie Slays. No problem. You're welcome, and thanks again to DistroKid for sponsoring today's video. Before you think about going anywhere, stick around, because right now we've got Symphony of Destruction in full with me and my good friend Jesse Mitchell. See you next week for some more metal riffs. As always, if you enjoyed this video, leave a little like, because then I know you enjoy these kind of things and I'll make more like this in the future. Leave a comment in the section below. Let me know what you thought about the whole situation. Who's better, Megadeth or Metallica? Sound off in the comments. And if you're new here, hit subscribe and hit the bell, because then you'll be notified when I post new videos every single week. Bye bye everyone.